Hey everybody, we're kind of getting you up to speed on what's going on. We'll take some of your questions, 314-425-5355. Shoot us a text message, shoot us a question. I'll answer some that are already that have already been asked earlier today because I know you guys have a lot of questions. Been talking a lot, so we got some water here. Actually, it's code red Mountain Dew because we are at a other impact alert, so we've gone code red. And we'll get into all of this here. Nothing like good stuff there to get you going. St. Charles, you're fine tonight. It's just flat out cold. Wind chills are 10, 12 degrees below zero for some of us right now. That's not going to change. There's the airport. Got another bank of flights that's just come in. They'll be pushing back out here shortly and get them out of here. Here's the problem with the air traffic system as we go into this weekend. We have a scenario playing out where it's not just us having weather. I mean, when we do get the snow, even in what was the blizzard of 82, the airport didn't shut down, but all the flights were pretty much canceled. I think that's what we're going to be looking at Sunday morning. There's not going to be a lot of flights that are going to be able to get out of here on Sunday morning because the flights Saturday night may not come in. And that's a very real reality. And why? Well, it's not just our weather. Dallas is in the middle of this winter storm. We have Nashville, Little Rock, even down in Houston, they're getting some unsettled weather. You go out into New Mexico, it's there. This storm's going towards Atlanta. It's going towards Charlotte. And so the flights that normally would go through those locations, and for us in St. Louis, Charlotte's a big hub. Dallas is a big hub. You go to Atlanta, it's a big hub. So to reroute all of that air traffic up into Chicago and the other hubs, it's a big problem. And what's going to happen is a lot of flights are going to get canceled. Planes aren't going to be arriving or they'll be coming in really late. Pilots and flight crews are going to time out because they're only allowed to work so many hours a day. And you're going to have crews displaced. You're going to have planes displaced. So there will be a large number of cancellations this weekend. In some cases, for the airlines to be proactive so they don't get everybody in a hot mess. Now, where are we at the moment? Look at the snow breaking out here across Kansas. You remember we said the cold air was coming in, but it would also be dry air. This is very true. This air is very dry. If you have walked across some carpet today, maybe scuffing your feet, you've probably been shocked. Get some static electricity in there. So we're down to 4 degrees now in St. Louis, but very dry air. So this leading edge that's showing up here in Kansas, a lot of that's mid-level moisture. And from the base of the clouds, those snowflakes maybe make it down 1,000 feet or 2,000 feet, and then they just evaporate. They're gone because the air is so dry. Eventually, you saturate, you get the rest of that layer onto the ground to get moist enough so that the snowflake is able to reach the ground. That's starting to happen in western portions of Kansas. Also have big winter weather breaking out down there along the Red River Valley. We'll get into more of that in a few minutes, kind of get a closer look there. 4 degrees right now in St. Louis. That's your 7 o'clock temperature. Wind's not quite as strong as it was, but the wind chill right now at 9 degrees below zero. I think we're looking at double-digit below zero wind chills for much of the night tonight and into tomorrow morning. We do have the cold weather advisory pretty much for our area midnight tonight through about noon tomorrow. I suspect there is going to be another one issued for Sunday night into Monday morning. I don't think it's as bad during the day on Sunday at this point because it's slightly warmer. The Crows are downtown. They didn't leave downtown, and we just kind of moved a little bit here at 5 on your side. 4 degrees right now. Wind's out of the north at 8. There's your -9 or 9 below zero. Look at that. 17 degrees below zero on the dew point. Really, really dry air. All right. It's a 3-part problem. The bitter cold's here now, stretching into Monday. Sub-zero wind chills. I don't think the wind chills are going to go above zero in St. Louis until midday Monday. The first wave of snow is coming tomorrow. If you're out early, you are not going to see a lot of snow in the morning. About 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, Afton. Got a question, when's it's going to start snowing in Afton? Probably about 11 o'clock tomorrow morning. That'd be our guesstimate. But it won't be terribly heavy going into tomorrow afternoon. We're talking about 1 to 3 inches of accumulation by 6 or 7 o'clock tomorrow night. That's not a huge amount. And don't think we'll get a lot between, say, 7 and 10. And then things start to ramp up. It's that second wave that's going to clobber us with the deeper snow and the heavier snow. 10 o'clock Saturday night and after, going into Sunday morning and then ending by 3 or 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon. While that intense snow is coming down overnight Saturday night and into early on Sunday, I mean, road crews aren't going to be able to do much with it. We're going to have a really hard time getting around. So, get whatever you need to get done tonight, tomorrow morning. Once it starts snowing, it's not the end of the world tomorrow afternoon and early tomorrow evening. You probably could still go out to dinner as long as you give yourself plenty of time to get wherever you're going. But the reality is there will be slick spots that develop tomorrow. We're expecting that. But the travel that becomes really hazardous and really problematic starts later Saturday night in through the overnight hours and going into Sunday morning. And I don't see how we can really get that to be improved much by Sunday afternoon. So you're looking here at the snow totals. Gary this morning kind of broad brushed a larger area, pulled the heavier snow into St. Louis. We already had an 8 to 12 band. He kind of nudged it to the 10 to 13. And we're thinking there may be a little sleet down to the south that mixes in for a while from Perryville to Fredericktown to Centerville. I don't think we're looking at any freezing rain. So sleet's better than freezing rain. And in this case, snow's better than sleet because this is going to be a dry, powdery snow. You'll be able to move it off your driveway pretty quickly. It may blow back, but at least it's not like back-breaking heavy snow like that mess we had right after Thanksgiving. Snow amounts to the north may be a little lighter, 6 to 8 inches, but that's still sizable amounts of snow. It's still going to cause big travel impacts across the region. Okay, I'm looking here. Somebody's talking about blizzard conditions. Let me see where they want to know about that. I don't think it's blizzard conditions ever. We may have the visibility down, but you got to have winds gusting 35 miles per hour for frequently for 3 hours in a row. That's not going to happen in this storm at all. So it will not at all be a blizzard. But you will have the visibility restrictions and the heavy snow. These are your temperatures. And really, tomorrow, I think we creep up towards 10 degrees late in the afternoon and maybe don't fluctuate too much going into tomorrow night. And Sunday's a little bit warmer. But when that snow's coming down, it's going to be a problem. So the cold's here. Clouds are coming in. Cold sticks with us till Monday. Wind chills stay below zero. Snow developing by lunchtime tomorrow in the metro area. A little sooner west and southwest. You're down towards Rolla, St. James. You'll probably get it by 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning. So if you're traveling 44, you would want to go tonight. Leave pretty soon. You don't want to go down 44 tomorrow. You don't want to go on any of our interstates really on Sunday. But tomorrow, at least in the morning, if you're going eastbound on 64, you probably have a decent shot at getting wherever you're going without a problem. And if you're going down 55, you need to go now. If you're going to try to go to Memphis, I wouldn't go there because it's going to be as bad or worse there because they get a lot of sleet and some freezing rain. For us, locally, the snow will be developing and spreading across the area by lunchtime on Saturday. And all the snow is going to stick. Now, some of it may blow off the roads initially because, again, it's a very fluffy, powdery snow. It will not have a lot of moisture with it. The periods of snow that pick up here going into late Saturday night into Sunday morning, that's when it's the heaviest. That's when it really piles up. While it is pouring snow late Saturday night and the first part of Sunday, travel is going to be really problematic. If you don't have four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, it's going to be tough. And temperatures are still going to be bitterly cold. Some of us are going to get more than a foot of snow. We feel extremely confident that there will be somebody getting more than a foot of snow out of this system. So where is it right now, and what's going to happen as time goes on? I got to move this. Somebody left us a cookbook. I don't know if there's some soups and stews on the back here. I don't know if that's trying to give us a thought that maybe we should be, making some soup this weekend. But yeah, look how expansive this is. All right. Somebody's supposed to land at 1 o'clock, and they're coming in from Florida. So I think you'll be able to get in. I think they'll still run that flight. I don't think they'll cancel that because it's not going to be snowing all that heavy. And plane gets to Florida, we're not looking at snow down there. So that's the answer for that one. I think you'll be fine. The flights will still come in, I think, through midday, probably early evening tomorrow. But I think some of those late night departures and some of those Sunday flights altogether, they're going to be canceled. Of course, that's up to the airlines. So, but look how this is evolving, and look how much real estate. I mean, we're talking here from Mexico into Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas. I mean, there's still some snow in parts of Nevada and into Utah too. And this mess that's developing down here in Texas, this is going to be a problem for these folks down here. They're going to be looking at ice accumulating, not only sleet, but freezing rain accumulating. There's going to be some pretty impressive power outage numbers that come out here. It's just going to be devastating. That's going to hold true into Arkansas too. So this is pretty much all reaching the ground. Now, initially, this heavier part does stay south of us. So that's the part that rolls through going into tomorrow. What's up here in Kansas, again, we have to get this to moisten the atmosphere, and it's running into the dry air as it pushes on to the east. So that's why we're not too wound up about it at this point. 6 o'clock Saturday morning. This is the local scene. We'll be dry in St. Louis. We'll be cloudy. We will be cold. The snow's trying to nudge in from the west. You could see a few flurries around Rolla down towards Centerville, I think, around 6 o'clock tomorrow morning. I don't know that a whole lot's going to be reaching the ground before daybreak. But right after daybreak and going into the late morning, early afternoon, you see some of those darker blues. That's when the intensity of the snow picks up a little bit aloft, and then it starts moistening through the layers of the atmosphere. Now, our temperatures through midday are still in the single digits. No question that this is going to stick. There's absolutely no question that is going to stick. And I got a question here is, what's going to get in St. Louis County? I think most of St. Louis County, most of the metro for that matter, is around 10, 11, 12 inches. And pockets where it's 13, maybe 14. There may be a few that only get 8 or 9, but I think those numbers are going to be limited. That's more like your temperatures at this point. So here we are in the afternoon. That's pretty light snow. You can tell by the coloring it's not all that dark blue. But watch what happens as we go through the evening. It's kind of patchy. It's not as organized, and it's relatively light. But look at this. As we go into the overnight hours, it really starts to expand. And look at all this dark blue. So this is going to be snowfall that's pretty intense during this time. And I got to tell you, we're looking at this not only with the intensity of it, but there's a lot of energy aloft. And this is the type of system that usually somewhere produces thunder snow. So right now, I'd say the better chance for that is along and south of 44 in Missouri and along and south of 70 in Illinois. But I'm not going to rule out the potential of us hearing thunder. I think that's a very real possibility across much of the area. And just like a summertime thunderstorm where you get a downpour with temperatures that are around 9, 10 degrees and really cold aloft with that light fluffy snow, and a 1/4 of an inch of liquid turns into 4 inches of snow, boom, in an hour like that. So that's why we think those higher numbers, the snow totals, seem to still be well within reach and very probable, if not likely. We're still here as we go into Sunday morning, flirting with 8, 9 degrees temperature-wise. Not much movement on the thermometer there. Now, overnight Saturday night, early Sunday morning, the winds aren't that strong. But as the system starts to pull away towards midday into the afternoon, we'll start to turn the winds more to the northwest. And the winds get gusty during the afternoon to some degree, which means even though we go back into the mid-teens, we're still whipping that snow around. So it'll blow back over. Road crews may come along and plow. What the road crews told us today, our crews have been out today, and talking with MoDOT, IDOT, city, county, they're talking to everybody, trying to find out who's got the game plan, who's got the best game plan. And their thought is, hey, we're not going to be putting down a lot of salt during this thing. They've done some pre-treatment in some places, but once that goes away, they're just going to kind of let the snow fall, and as it's falling, just try to shove it off to the side, which makes sense. Think about last January. Remember January a year ago where it was really cold after the snow? And, the salt trucks, they'd run out of salt. They have to go back, get another load of salt. Well, they could have just kept going and plowing, and that would have done more good than wasting time driving back to get more salt to turn around and go pick up where they left off. Just keep plowing the snow. That's put the plow down and let it go is going to be our mantra here on Sunday. We can add the chemicals once we get most of the snow off the road. And to be honest, most of us can drive in an inch or two of snow. Some of us not great, but most of us can get where we need to go for an inch or two of snow, especially if there aren't a lot of other people on the road. All right, so teens still on Sunday afternoon. As we go into Sunday night, we'll start to clear out, and then we'll drop back close to zero again Monday morning. We'll have a breeze Monday morning. Again, wind chills 10 to 20 below. I think we're going to be looking at another cold weather advisory for that time frame. So that's why, because of the snow that's still on the ground, and it won't be going anywhere, that's why we extended that weather impact alert to Monday morning. So again, Rolla, Steelville, Potosi, Ironton, Farmington, St. Genevieve, Sparta, Mount Vernon, Nashville, Salem, Flora, Vandalia, everybody here is pretty much locked in close to 10 inches or a little above. Now, the exception to that will be if there is, in fact, a little sleet that mixes in down here across southeast Missouri, so Centerville, Lesterville, Fredericktown, you folks down in Annapolis, Perryville. If you get a little sleet mixed in, that knocks your totals down. But it's also possible that you don't get any mix and then you're back into that 13, 14-inch realm as well. Farther north and northwest of St. Louis, more dry air here to overcome initially, and the heavier snow is basically from your area and to the south. Don't think you'll get a whole lot with the first round, so that's why we have only 6 to 8 inches. But listen, whether you have 6 inches today, 8 inches today, 12 inches, really not today, but Sunday, or 14 inches, we're not going anywhere, not with these cold temperatures. The roads are going to be bad, and they're going to get really bad as we go into Saturday night, late into Sunday. And then early on Monday, we're still bitterly cold. I think we're around 1 degree below zero, but I think some of the wind chills are going to be around 20 below zero. Now, we may get close to freezing on Tuesday. There is another weather system, another front that's approaching from the north and west. It has more Arctic air behind it. But what that tends to do is, you know, while we normally would warm up and say, hey, you'll get a quick warm up like this week where we bounce back close to 50 for a day, instead of that happening, we're going to hold it at about 31 because the air ahead of that front is coming over snow cover for a few hundred miles, not just a short distance, but a few hundred miles. So we're not going to let it get up there. And then after that, you know, we're back into single-digit low temperatures here for Thursday morning, Friday morning, Saturday morning. Maybe next week we're going back into the 20s. Perhaps after that we'll nudge a little higher, closer to 30, but we're in a pretty cold pattern right now. So the weather impact alerts for the snow and the cold, and that's going to go through as we head through the next few days. So again, nothing's going on right now around the St. Louis area. St. Charles, your roads are looking good. A lot of people out and about. There's the Deerbergs over there off Zonebell, probably packed. Don't buy any more bread or milk than you normally would, that you normally would eat or drink. And, you know, we don't have to go crazy on this. I don't think we're looking at power outages because we're not looking at freezing rain here. All right, so let's see what some of you have to say here. So that's what we got going on here this evening. I think basically, once the roads get bad late Saturday night, I think you're basically stuck with that. And it's going to be bad all day Sunday. It's going to be bad probably Sunday night into Monday morning. I'm hopeful that by midday Monday, things start to improve a little bit. But I was also hopeful last January that by midday Monday, things would start to improve a little bit. And it was really midday Wednesday. So, we're at the mercy of road crews and Mother Nature at that point. So, while we can be hopeful that things are going to get better, it may or may not. But right now, we're still pretty quiet across the area. Again, if you've got some questions, I can't read all of your comments because some of them are a little spicy. 314-425-5355. There's Lambert. There's your flight bank there. It does have me a little concerned that some of those taillights have turned off. Because normally they keep them on as they get ready to push back and go out. I wouldn't think they'd be settling in here for today. But then again, one of our former interns, actually a dispatcher down at American in Dallas, and part of their job is to try to, plan for this and get planes in a spot where they'll be able to get them out. Dallas tomorrow morning, they may have sent some planes up here from Dallas so that they're not there because they're not going to get out of there later tonight into tomorrow. So they may already be pre-positioning a lot of stuff. But, that's part of their job is where are we going to put planes, where are we going to put crews? It's a pretty intense situation. We got another former intern that works over at American Airlines doing the same thing, trying to coordinate stuff. Fortunately, he gets to do more of the international flights instead of this. Here's a good question from the 618 area code. 4-year-old winter baby is going to be bummed because it's probably going to be too cold to play outside. And that is a concern because the kids are not going to tell you that their fingers are numb and that they're cold. But if you put the hand warmers in there and you have a multitude of layers on them, for a short period of time, if you want to take them sledding Sunday, if there's a little place close to you where you can do that, I think that's reasonable expectation. I know the kids, we always went out in the snow. We just bundled up really well, went out, spent a certain amount of time, usually until Daddy got cold or Mama got cold, and then we came back inside because we knew if we were starting to get cold, they would be getting cold, but they wouldn't tell us. So, it's one of those things, there will be people skiing at Hidden Valley this weekend, and they'll be loving it. This is Utah-type snow that's on the way. I mean, it's good snow for skiing, that's for sure. So, I think as we're looking around here right now, 4 degrees, wind chill -9, yeah, it's pretty brutal if you go outside and you don't have a hat on, you don't have any gloves on. But the skiers, we could take a lesson from them. They are layered up and they are protected. And as long as you're being active, you're doing pretty good. So again, it's important. You're going to need the winter gear getting out the door. Don't forget a snow brush. One of the things, probably our biggest concern, is not the amount of snow that falls, because we know it's going to be a mess and travel's going to be a mess. But some people do have to drive. And we had this at 6:30, making sure you have a blanket in your car, maybe some extra water, maybe some snacks. Because the reality of it is if you're trying to drive and we're in 6 to 8 inches of snow and the roads are really, really bad and something happens and you get stuck on the road, there's a chance the first responders are not initially going to be able to get to you as quickly as they normally would. And if you're stuck on the side of the road and you run out of gas or you have an accident and you're stuck, your car stops working, with these cold temperatures, it gets cold in that car really fast, and it then becomes more of a potentially life-threatening situation. And that's kind of what we're trying to prevent, and just kind of putting it all out there. We like to say we don't hype, we're trying to help so that you're all prepared. Let's see some of these other things here. And again, the big snow is not coming on Saturday, it's coming late Saturday night into Sunday. That's the timing on the biggest part of this snowstorm, and that's when we're really going to get cramped on the roads. All right, Festus. How can MoDOT plow through the construction zone with those barriers? And this is a very good question because it's not just there. You got this mess out on 270 in West St. Louis County across 64. That's a mess. There's a lot of construction zones right now. They do have a plan. But, the other thing with a lot of these construction zones is the lines are not marked very well. And so, it's hard to even see what's going on in those areas. So I think that's what we're looking at. They're going to plow, they're going to do something with it. But then when you got the barriers, it is hard to get the snow over that. So that's going to be another problem. We've got a dog that's got a couple of sweaters, 6 pounds. And, remember your dog's paws do get cold. And if there's salt down, they don't want to be on that. And by the way, with these temperatures, I really wouldn't throw salt down on your sidewalk or your driveway. I would just try to let it go. And then once it settles down, if you go out every couple of 3 hours tomorrow afternoon, maybe tomorrow evening after there's about the first 3 inches, and maybe take a broom and sweep that off, because it's going to be easy to sweep. It'll move. Then you're set for the next round, and you use a leaf blower too. This stuff's going to move pretty well out there. A question about what the QPF numbers, and QPF means a quantitative precipitation forecast. In other words, I got this amount of rain in my rain gauge. That's what it's talking about. How much liquid? they're all of the ensembles and everything we're using is right around 0.6 to 0.7 of an inch. The European has been there for days, and we questioned it because of the dry air, but we didn't want to go overboard and, freak everybody out so early that, that means 10 or 11, 12 inches of snow, depending on the snow ratio. It's, the dry, cold air is a problem. So I still think if you do 20 to 1 on 0.6 of an inch, that's 12 inches of snow. Probably isn't going to be 20 to 1, could be for some of us, but probably it's more like 16 to 1 or 17 to 1. That's my guess at this point, but that's our estimate based on what we're seeing with the profile. I gotta believe, I think Mizzou is getting ready to send up, either they just sent up another balloon or they're going to send up another balloon, the Mizzou meteorology students, to kind of get a profile of just how deep this dry air is, so that we can get a better idea of that. Here's somebody that says, want to give a shout out to the first responders and the hospital staff. You better believe it. And these are the people that need to be out, and they don't need us on the roads clogging things up. Listen, I'm coming into work early tomorrow, and I'll be here tomorrow night. I'm going to stay down here in the city. Going to stay in here. I'll be in here Sunday. I'll be back in here Monday. I'm not going home Sunday night. I'm going to stay here. The dogs have got the house under control, as they always do. But here's the reality. If I'm not on the road when this is bad, and you aren't on the road when it's bad, if we don't need to be, if there's not an emergency, or if you're not one of these workers that absolutely has to go do their job, or a first responder, or the medical folks, if we get on the road and we clog things up, it makes it hard for everybody else who really does need to be out. So, and yeah, our first responders, amazing. Okay. Now here's somebody has an interesting thought. It says, remind people not to do laundry with the basement or outside washer wall placement. And I know what we're thinking about how cold it is there right up against the walls. I mean, if your home is well heated, but again, with some of these overnight temperatures, next couple of nights, even all day tomorrow, think about it, it's only around 9-10 degrees all day tomorrow. So if you have pipes that are in the outside walls, or you've got the bathrooms on the outside wall, you can open up the cabinet doors for that and let some of that warmer air in. And that way at least it gets in around the pipes and maybe keeps it a little bit warmer. Also, you can turn the faucets on, let them drip a little bit longer. Plan for city streets, neighborhood side streets. City tells us they've already treated some. The main thoroughfares on the city streets are looking pretty good right now, is what we're told, as far as basically getting this all ready to go. So, I'm going to stick with we're going to get through it. We know we're going to get through it. Tomorrow, it'll get, a little slick and sloppy during the afternoon hours. Again, during the daytime, especially midday into the afternoon, you're looking at 1 to 3 inches of snow. That's not the end of the world. But later Saturday night, if it's snowing at 1 or 2 inches per hour, and that's within the realm of possibilities, that does present problems. And with all that snow falling and on the ground still on Sunday afternoon, MoDOT, IDOT, they're only going to be able to do so much. And if the winds pick up and are a little stronger than we think, then yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a problem. Franklin, Crawford County, we're getting close to the end of our questions here. In Franklin, Crawford County, down 44, you're kind of on the bullseye at this point. Again, 10 to 13 inches seems very reasonable. There's going to be some spots that are 13, maybe 14, I wouldn't be surprised, 15 inches. You also have that chance of hearing thunder. So that's kind of how we're stacking it up at this point. Again, the worst of the